Hi everybody, Shannon Petrovich with Therapist Talks. The 7 most common, most destructive communication mistakes that kill relationships. Much of what plagues us in our daily lives is our problems with our relationships. Most of this can be followed back to communication mistakes. Here are the most common and most destructive mistakes, as well as strategies for improvement. It's best to start with the video Crucial Communication Strategies to learn the foundational skills. Also, a quick caveat, if there's any abuse or violence in your relationship, see my video on domestic violence. You cannot fix communication mistakes with someone who resorts to violence to intimidate you or exert power and control. Number 1, the most common and destructive mistake I see is that people are not fighting the right battles. I see a lot of couples who are fighting over minute details that don't matter and neglecting the battles that do matter. In battling over the minutiae of everyday life, while neglecting to fight over the real meaty issues that they should have sorted out before they even became intimate with each other, the entire landscape is a confusing mess. When you fight to the death over something trivial, you're exhausting your relationship and yourself. When you neglect the very important issues, you're getting more and more bonded to someone you may not even want to be with long term. And sometimes these are intertwined with each other when someone is bickering over something small, but they're really angry over the underlying bigger issue. The strategy for solution for this is to look at everything from a values-based, character qualities-based perspective. Values and character matter. Most other things really don't. When we look at everything from these perspectives, it helps us sort through which issues are major and which are merely a preference or a desire. If your partner is doing something that is against your values or shows poor character, you have to say something, and you need to say it with conviction and seriousness. If your partner does something annoying, you can choose to let it go, or you can mention it but cloak it with a lesser importance that it carries. So in each and every issue, give it the weight it really deserves. You shouldn't have a serious fight over the lid on the toothpaste, while not talking about whether you both want kids, or how you want to combine finances, or what you see as your life's goals and future. You can weight these things appropriately by prefacing with, "This isn't really a big deal, but I prefer if," or conversely, "This is really bothering me and I really need to share with you how I'm feeling about this." Number 2, the next mistake is when someone is invested in always being right and always having their way. This is control, pure and simple, and it will soul murder your relationships. When you have to have everything your way, you will find yourself alone. If not physically, you will be emotionally. Your partner has to numb out and distance themselves from you as you're too toxic. They will also have a tendency to not take you too seriously when you do have something important to say. So the strategy for solution is to self-coach yourself into the realization that a relationship is 2 people agreeing to share life. And you being in control or having your way is unfair and it's unsustainable. Ask yourself if it's more important for you to be right than be together, and if it's worth losing your relationship over whatever it is you're bickering about. If your partner is like this, discuss it several times and then move on. If someone's not willing to share or has to be in control and right all the time, your thoughts, feelings, wants, and passions, really your life, will cease to exist over time. You're much better off being alone than losing yourself. Number 3, the next mistake is using drama and intensity to get attention rather than developing mature self-expression. I've seen couples who use the most profane language with each other as soon as a conflict starts, and they literally go from 0 to serial killer in 2.4 seconds. This over-dramatizing doesn't get attention on your issue, it only makes you look like a tantruming child, and it annihilates any positive emotions between you and your partner. The aftermath of this anger is hurt, depletion, depression, and despair. The long-term resentment destroys love and connectedness for good. If you've made this mistake, apologize and work hard to change. If you have to bite your tongue until it bleeds, do that rather than destroy the one you love most. Take your tantruming self for a time out. Calm down, think things through, and come back with your real feelings, thoughts, and needs and wants, and your willingness. Whatever you think you want to say when you're in that state of mind, you really don't want to let that out. If your relationship has a lot of this going on, with a lot of toxic garbage being slung back and forth, take a break, commit to change, Hold yourselves accountable. If you can't get a lid on it, move on. Number 4, another common mistake I see is poor self-expression. Communication is basically taking what I feel, think, want, need, and am willing to give and sharing it with you. If you receive what I said, we're communicating. If I don't express myself well, then we never got out of the starting gate. But often we don't have good self-understanding, and so we tend to react with one emotion or another, unable to identify the real underlying emotion. So if we tend to always go to anger, we neglect to share that we feel scared or sad or hurt. If we always react in tears or anxiety, we may neglect to share that we really feel angry, and so forth. So how do I go about sharing what I think, feel, want, need, and am willing to give? I first need to stop and pause and sort it all out. Many times we start moving our mouths and making sounds before we even know what we think or feel. We start spouting off, doing damage, and reacting before we even know what's underneath that initial reaction. While we're spouting off, we don't give the other person any accurate information, and instead we've dumped a load of garbage on them. Then they start reacting to that, and off we go, escalating each other. So the strategy for solution is to stop, breathe, think, feel, and filter. So by filter, I mean running it through 3 gates. Is it kind? Is it true? And is it necessary? Number 5, the next mistake is right up there. We don't listen well. Listening means putting your thoughts and feelings away for a minute and receiving the thoughts, feelings, needs, wants, and willingnesses of the other person. When we stop the chatter in our minds, we can hear the other person's perspective, and it may be completely different from ours. It may be very hard to listen and hear and empathize because we may still be wound up in our own stuff, but we have to be willing to listen in order to make any progress in the relationship. We might also be surprised to find that the other person wants much the same as what we want, but we were so busy being reactive we didn't hear that. So stop, breathe, listen. It's happened many times in couple sessions in my office that once we stop and find the underlying emotions and listen to each other, the 2 people find that they both feel lonely, frustrated, and want the same things. They want to be connected again. So this is the foundation of healing a relationship, and often all they need is to get back on track again. Number 6, losing connection. We start every relationship with connection. The things that brought us together made us respect, value, enjoy, and want to be ever closer to that person. We develop funny stories, inside jokes, things we say to make each other laugh, ways we look at each other, touch each other to let each other know we really love them. Over time and with conflict and everyday stress, we forget and neglect and end up starving our relationships to death. Without this connective sustenance, our relationship will literally starve, shrivel up, and die. Resentments pile up, what used to be enjoyable is miserable, and being together is a chore. The strategy for solution is to bring back connectivity. Remember all the love and connectedness you had. Look at old photos, read your wedding vows, watch your video if you have one, or just have a conversation walking down memory lane with each other. Talk about what you used to love to do, the inside jokes, the meaningful bonds you have, and how you can resurrect them. Then to commit to giving hugs, taking time to giggle over something goofy, holding hands and listening to each other's day rather than just going through the motions of our stressful lives. The truth is, life is stressful. We can divide that stress and even make it fun and humorous when we pull together, and we can make it exponentially worse, more miserable, lonely, and sad when we pull apart. The second strategy on this point is to build on those connectivities. Create new memories through sharing dreams, passions, goals, drives, and try to hear and support each other in those aspirations or ideas. When we hear and go with, we may find we have similar ideas but hadn't shared them, so didn't know about this. This becomes a new connector and a new focus for your creative energies. It might be small or it might be huge. It might be now or it might be way in the future. Share with each other anyway, and listen and be supportive. 7, the final common mistake I see in my office is mistaking lust for love. Love is an action word. It's a commitment you make based on really knowing, appreciating, and respecting who that person is. Then you commit to being in relationship with them through the hard times and the times when you're annoyed with each other. And when couples make the mistakes of 1 through 6 and their passion for each other is waning under the weight of resentment and miscommunications, one person of the couple might make the mistake of lust for love. They wander off into the next shiny thing rather than working on the relationship. If this has happened, you cannot work on your relationship until or unless they sever that lust and recommit to your relationship. If they don't, you need to take care of yourself by ending things. If they do, you may be able to salvage your relationship. If one of you has feelings for another, focus instead on fixing your communications, growing your connectedness, deepening your commitment, and building your trust and love for each other. Bouncing from shiny object to shiny object will never give you this fulfillment and will leave you feeling alone and empty. So in summary, focus on the fundamental communication strategies, watch out for these 7 common mistakes, work on the strategies, and grow a deep, connected, loving, fun, and satisfying relationship that can last a lifetime. If you've appreciated this video, please subscribe. You never know when something that you share might help someone else. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you again soon.